Hello everyone, Philip from Scan Unlimited, and this is a very late walkthrough video, updated walkthrough video I should say. So we haven't done one of these in a while, so this is kind of like the 2021 updated walkthrough series. Probably will be cut up into a few videos, we'll see how fast we get through it. But we're going to go through the full process from creating a Scan Unlimited account to uploading, analyzing, jumping into the different features that Scan Unlimited has, like the power-ups and the product detail feature, and going all the way through to actually creating a purchase order, sending it to our supplier. So let's go ahead and jump into this and get started. Okay, so to get started, if you don't have a Scan Unlimited account already, you can sign up. It's free to sign up. We don't ask for any credit card information up front. To do so, you just head over to scanunlimited.com, and in the top right, there's a Create Account button. Just click that and just add your email, create a password, and we actually also allow you to sign up with Google if you prefer to use that. And the free plan gives you the ability to upload one product list per month up to 10,000 lines. So that's a really great option if you are just kind of starting to learn how to sell on Amazon and you're not so sure if it's for you, or you just kind of want to test out what data that Scan Unlimited can provide you and your business. That's really what the free plan is all about. And so you can, upload one scan every month, and there's nothing that stops you from doing that. However, of course, if you're going to scale your business to any significant level, you would want to jump into the unlimited plan, which would allow you to upload as many files as you want, up to 100,000 lines as of today. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and jump into my account and we'll go from there. So when you first sign up, you'll be brought to the dashboard, and basically the layout for Scan Unlimited is pretty straightforward. You can find all of your process scans in the side nav here just by pressing scans. You also have access to your product folders in the side nav, as well as any kind of settings you have for your account. And then we have all of our social links and links to our Chrome extension, which I'll go over in a little bit. But the pretty much core function of Scan Unlimited is to process product lists that you would get from a supplier. And the biggest issue that sellers have when trying to go through these product lists is that these product lists typically tend to be pretty large. It's very common to see lists that are a few thousand up to even over 100,000 lines possibly. So to kind of get started, I wanted to start with showing an actual product list. So I got this one as an example. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit just because it's just a little too small. But as you can see here, this is a product list that I have here. It's from an actual supplier. In this case, the supplier is Funko. And Funko is a toy manufacturer. So all of these items are mostly toys. Might be some other items that they have in here, but what you'll find is that it's very common to see kind of the same headers or columns even across suppliers. It doesn't really matter who you're looking at. You'll notice that they'll all have some things in common. So for example, you'll see that in column C there's an item column, and in this column this is basically describing what item the is to the manufacturer. So not necessarily a universal product identifier, but rather an identifier just for their internal system so that they know which item you really want to buy. So let's take, for example, this item right here. It says the Lost Boys Sam. Well, if you tell them, or if you tell the supplier that you want to order item number 21779, then they would know which item you're talking about because that's like their internal number. Some other things that you'll definitely see across suppliers will be the price. So what is it going to cost you to source that item? So after all, this is kind of like a price list. So in this case, they have different tiers of pricing. So I'm using this file as an example because it's a little bit more complex. Instead of just having one cost column, it's going to have, in this case now it has 4 depending on volume. So I'll show you kind of how I deal with that, and and then you can kind of adjust it to your business. Some other things. It has a product identifier. In this case, a UPC. A UPC is universal, so meaning that this product ID or this UPC, it basically points to a specific product, and any other company would be able to identify that it's that specific product. So it's not an internal code. It is very much global to everybody, right? Typically, manufacturers have to pay to reserve UPCs so that they truly are unique. So this column is extremely important because Scan Unlimited, although does support keyword searches, which would allow you to search by item numbers, it's definitely not the most efficient way to go about it, about searching, because it's not just like a time thing where it would take longer, but also accuracy is definitely kind of degraded if you search by SKU numbers. So for sure, you want to make sure that your product list has some sort of product ID, like a UPC, an EAN, ISBN, and sometimes even maybe an ASIN. That's kind of rare, but most of the time you'll see one of those 3, UPC, EAN, ISBN. And that is basically how Scan Unlimited would go about matching the products that it sees in the product list with the listings on Amazon. So, really, like the challenge here is when looking through a product list like this, and you see like all these items, and you're trying to figure out like, well, okay, which one should I source? There's like the major things you're looking for. 2 things really, is the demand of an item, which there's many ways to kind of go about measuring that. We'll get into that in a little later. And then there's also the profitability of the item. So it doesn't really make sense to source something if it's selling fast if you don't make money selling it. So you kind of need both. You need both volume or demand and actual profit. And Scan Unlimited makes that process very easy because it's an automated process. So it will do it for you. And then you can apply filters and analyze the list that way. So let's go ahead and jump into the upload process so I can show you how to properly feed this file into Scan Unlimited. So no matter which page you're on within Scan Unlimited, the side nav is always accessible. There's this little menu icon in the top left if it's hidden. And there's this button that says New Scan. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be uploading our file in order to generate a scan. So we'll press New. I'm going to go ahead and drag the file into the drag and drop box. And this is what you'll see. This is the upload modal. And this is definitely updated since I think the last walkthrough I did. and we made some kind of quality of life updates so that it's a little bit easier to kind of set your preferences. And we also do some more validation checks just in case you might make a mistake when uploading. It'll try and prevent that, and I'll show you an example of that. So to begin with, you have to choose the starting position. So what does that mean? It means like sometimes files will look something like, let me see if I can bring back the original Excel. So let's just say I added an empty row here, right? So now there's like a blank row here at the top. Basically, what the starting position allows you to do is just select the row where your data is starting, so that you can kind of skip over any of the unnecessary rows at the top. Very commonly, you see suppliers put their address or their logo at the top of the Excel file. So this will just let you kind of jump below that and start where there's actual data, so you're not wasting any lines. So in this case, we're going to select the header row with all the labels. That's going to make it a lot easier when mapping out the different columns. So let's see here. So search by. So search by is going to tell the software how you would like to go about searching this product list. So in this case, this manufacturer has provided UPC information, and that would be an amazing product ID to go based on. As I mentioned, keyword searches are not efficient, both in time and in accuracy. So since we do have UPCs in this column right here at the end, I'm going to select the radio button that's called UPC for the search by. And since we're talking about product ID, let's go ahead and also map out the product ID column. So we do that by clicking the product ID dropdown, and this is scrollable, so you're going to scroll all the way to the end. In this case, because it was the last column, you'll see that all these names are coming from the header of the file, so it's just kind of pulled down here. So like the first column was called catalog year, the second was page number, so yeah, so it's the last one. In this case, it's called UPC. Keep in mind, your product list might say something else. It might say master identifier, or it might say, I don't know, code. Code is actually pretty common. So don't really pay so much attention to the name of the header, like of the column. Just make sure that it's the correct column, if that makes sense. So it's like whatever the column is, just map it that way. So now that we got product ID stuff taken care of, oh yeah, I did mention about validation. So basically a validation check would be something like this. Let's say I forgot that it had a UPC column and I choose item. Well, what you see here is that the software is picking that up as noticing that there's no valid UPCs in this column, so you probably made a mistake. So that's a good way to kind of prevent kind of wasting your free scan if you're a free user, and also wasting your time if you're an unlimited user. So that's kind of a nice helpful feature that was added. I don't even know now, it's been a little while now, but it's new relative to the 2019 walkthrough that I made. Marketplace, pretty self-explanatory. Scan Unlimited as of today, June 30th, 2021. We support the US, Canada, Mexico for the North American region, and for Europe, Scan Unlimited supports the UK, Spain, Italy, France, and Germany. So anyway, so you could just choose the marketplace that you want to scan against. As long as you added credentials for the correct marketplace, it will show up here. So in this example, let's go ahead and just stick with the US. I will just for the sake of a demonstration, I will point out that if you are trying to scan in one of the European marketplaces, Scan Unlimited does have support for VAT calculations. There's a whole video about how VAT is handled and calculated within Scan Unlimited, so I will leave a link right here in the top right. And this way you can check it out if VAT is applicable to your business. But basically, it allows you to consider into your profit any VAT that you'll have to submit to the government, but also any VAT that you plan to reclaim like when you were sourcing the item from your supplier. And because in this product list, your costs may be VAT exclusive or inclusive. For any US sellers that don't have anything to do with VAT, you can just ignore everything I just said. But I do know that we have a lot of sellers that are selling in Europe. So just know that that feature is there and that you can check out that link if you're interested in learning more. So like I said, let's go back to the US marketplace. And now we're going to map out the cost column. As I mentioned, I picked this list on purpose because it's a little bit more complex than a typical list. Most lists, you'll see just kind of a column. It says cost, and it's very straightforward. There's not much to really consider there. In this case, the supplier is giving a discount based on like volume. So if you source or like if you only purchase maybe a case or two, you'd be limited to like their worst or the highest price. And as you buy more, you go into a higher tier and you get a better discount. So for me, I typically just choose the best tier. And the reason for that is if profitability doesn't work at their best pricing level, then really there's nothing more to analyze at that point. Because I can always kind of take an item that has some profit and say, okay, well, let me add in another 25 cents into the cost to see how the profit will be affected. But I don't really want to waste my time if at the highest tier it's like negative 50% ROI. I don't really like, there's nothing really to add, or sorry, I should say like remove from the cost. So it's pretty much not that you wouldn't be interested in sourcing that item no matter what. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to choose the tier 4 column. And we also have support for over 200 world currencies, and we keep the currency conversions updated daily. And so this way, when let's say you're in a situation where your supplier's list is based in, let's say, like pounds, right? And you want to have everything based in pounds, but you're scanning against the Amazon US marketplace. Well, you would be interested in converting all those US marketplace dollar amounts. That includes like the buy box price, the FBA fees, the commissions. You want to get that all into pounds. This way you're kind of comparing apples to apples so that when you look at the ROI and all that stuff, it actually makes sense. And all the calculations are correct. In this case, this supplier sells to me in US dollars. The Amazon marketplace is in US dollars, so it's very easy just to, well, we're just going to keep it as US dollars as our currency. I'm going to skip custom columns, just jump over here to condition. Right now we support the two primary conditions, new and used. I know that there are many kind of sub-conditions under used, but when you choose used, we're going based on the buy box. So whatever Amazon is choosing as the used buy box, that's the one we're going for. That's the price we're going to pull in. For most sellers, they'll be using the new condition. Custom columns essentially allows you to bring in custom data from your Excel spreadsheet or product list that you want to see inside of the scan, maybe for reference. So really common would be to pull in the item number as well as maybe the case pack. This way, when you're ordering or you're generating that purchase order, it's a little bit easier to kind of create it because you'll have the item numbers and case pack numbers, so that you know kind of what increment you should buy in, and also, of course, most suppliers expect you to create a purchase order with their item numbers, not necessarily UPCs. They might accept the UPCs, but more typical is that they want to see the item number or SKU number. So in this example, we're going to choose item and the case pack or case quantity. Other than that, I guess I did skip over the scan name. You can use this field right here to just give your scan a name that you can remember it by. So I could call it kind of like, Funko is the name of the supplier, so that's kind of typical, to kind of put the supplier name. You might say, I don't know, maybe it's like the updated version for June, right? You could put really whatever name you want there. And that's pretty much it. That is pretty much how you set up the upload so that your file will be processed correctly. Of course, if you have any questions about how to do this correctly, maybe your file's a little confusing, or you're having problems, or you're getting an error, you can always, let me just move my little circle here. You can always start a conversation with us by clicking the intercom button and chatting with us, and we're always happy to help users get their scan set up correctly. So once you're ready, you're just going to press start, and that'll start the upload process, and then followed by the actual scan process. Scanning is pretty quick. Right now we're running at about 300,000 items per hour. So this file that, let's see, I think it was 2,500 lines. It shouldn't take too long to scan. So I will get back to this when it is done processing. All right, so the scan is done processing. I'm located right now on the Scans tab within the side nav. And once you see that your scan is done processing, you'll see in the progress column, it'll say completed. And at that point, you'll be able to open it. And you can open a scan simply by clicking on the row. So we're going to open it up. And what you see here is what a typical scan would look like after it's done processing. Some of these columns, you know, they should be pretty familiar. So for example, there's a UPC column right in the front, and those are the UPCs from your file. So that's something actually I should really emphasize. The UPCs did not come from Scan Unlimited. This is something I see a lot of users get confused with. The UPCs came from you. It's from the product list. So the main function of Scan Unlimited is to pair these UPCs with items that are listed on Amazon, so that you don't have to kind of manually figure out what item goes with what. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at a scan. And then you'll also see that it brought in the item number as well as the case pack number from the file, because we added them as custom columns. So that's going to be really convenient for us when we're creating the purchase order. Everything else inside of a scan is pulled in from Amazon, and this is done by Scan Unlimited. And this is basically kind of where the magic happens. We're looking at the items from our product list and comparing them specifically to ASINs. ASIN, I believe, if I remember off the top of my head, stands for Amazon Serial Identification Number, I believe. I might be wrong on that one, but basically it's a unique identifier to, like, not necessarily an actual physical product, but rather like an individual Amazon page. Like that item on that page has a specific ASIN. So I kind of stress that because a physical product, so let's go ahead and open this first one. By the way, you can get to Amazon just by simply clicking the title of the row. And so this physical product, in this case, like this Funko item, it may exist in multiple pages on Amazon because, you know, I mean, Amazon doesn't really like this to happen. They would much rather have one page per product. So one ASIN per physical product. Now, however, that's far from the truth. It's far from reality. And as a wholesale Amazon seller, you really don't want to limit yourself to just matching one UPC to one ASIN, but rather you would want to match one UPC to every single ASIN that item appears on Amazon. And then you can look at the profitability, you can look at the sales rank, and make the decision at that point to say, okay, yes, this is worth sourcing. And then you can ignore the other ASINs, or even, I've done this myself, where you have an item that you actually list in 2 different places on Amazon because there's 2 ASINs that are performing pretty well. So just keep in mind that's kind of like a core concept of how Scan Unlimited works. And it's really, some people might confuse that as a negative. That's actually a huge positive. It's the complete opposite. So I would hate for anybody following this tutorial to not recognize that it's a really great feature. So let's see here. So the first thing that I like to do once opening a scan, because as you can see there's a lot of information here, is really filter this down so that it's not so overwhelming, because not everything inside of this file is of interest to me. And this is, by the way, very much subjective to every seller. Not every seller wants to get a certain ROI or a certain margin, or maybe they want to see a certain sales rank. Maybe they don't want to deal with hazmat. Maybe they don't want to go into the toys category. You have your reasons, but just know that basically the filters would be the way to kind of get rid of those items that are not really, that wouldn't really work for your business. So to access filters, there's actually 2 ways. You can use the drop downs inside of the column headers, and you can apply filters to the individual columns that way. Or you can click the filter button in the top right, which will open this side navigation here on the right that kind of shows you all the columns, and you can apply your filters this way. So let's say, I'll give you an example of like maybe a filter that you would want to apply. Maybe, again, depends on your business. Maybe I only want to see, let's say, profit where the item is at least making, let's say, $2. And maybe another filter I might want to apply is related to sales rank. So maybe I only want to see sales rank that is less than, let's go with 50,000. Oh, little typo there, 50,000. But also, for those that have been selling on Amazon for a while, you actually know that sales rank of 0 is actually a possibility. However, sales rank of 0 is not better than 1. Actually, it's almost the complete opposite. So we actually don't want to have anything that is equal to 0. So we're going to say less than 50,000 and not equal to 0. And you could apply other filters. But for now, actually another one that I'd like to apply is ROI. So let's say that the ROI is greater than 70%. And the reason why you might want to put an ROI filter as well as a profit filter is that the profit filter will kind of make sure that you have like a solid, margin or dollar amount in case like you have some extra expenses, and we'll kind of get into that right after these filters actually. But the ROI number would be more of like a way to check if you're making a good return on your investment. So like, let's say an item is making, let's say, $1 profit, but you only invested 50 cents. Well, that's a pretty large ROI, and you should really consider an item that makes a really high ROI. But of course, you kind of want to have a good combination of both profit and ROI. So I like to apply filters on both of those. And yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at what our product list or our scan looks like now. So we've gone from, I think it was almost 3,000 results down to 644. You could refine this further in order to kind of get down to where you want it to be. Maybe something else we could do is go based on estimated sales. So let's go ahead and put a filter here for estimated sales. So I want to see sales where there's at least, I don't know, let's say 210 sales per month. I'm kind of going with a higher number here because I do know just from my experience that Funko is a fairly popular item to source, so there's a good amount of competition. So if I'm going to be competing with others, I want to make sure that there's a good amount of volume in general, so that there's enough to kind of share. So let's see here. So yeah, actually I've dropped my results down to 25. So I would call these like basically my candidates for sourcing. On top of those filters, something else you can add on is, and this is again very custom to everybody's business, like each individual business, is you can add cost information for both shipping and prep fees. So if you use a third-party logistics company, or oftentimes they're called prep centers, you can add like the fee that they charge for preparing and receiving your products. And also you can add a shipping cost per pound. That's really useful if you kind of have already measured in your business how much it costs to kind of get stuff to the FBA centers. So the way you would do that is by clicking these three buttons in the top right and choosing scan settings. And in here, this is where you could add it. So let's go ahead and say that I'm going to have a prep fee of $1, which is kind of high actually, but let's just go with that. And let's say my shipping cost is normally 20 cents per pound. And oh, I also forgot that there's also one other thing you can add, which is a discount/premium percentage. So basically, let's say you want to apply a 10% discount to every single item, you know, that you would get from your supplier. This is how you would do it. Instead of having to go into the Excel and doing that like formula before uploading, you could just upload it and then add the discount right here. If you want to add a discount, you just got to make sure that you add a negative sign before. So like, you know, 50% off would be this. If you put a positive number, it will add like a surcharge almost on top of your cost. So let's say, for example, your supplier charges a flat 10%, you know, for freight basically. That could be one way you could do it right there. So let's go ahead and save this. It's going to refresh the scan, and as you can see, my list even got shorter because now it's considering the new cost that I just added, which is going to be the prep fee and the shipping fee. So if I scroll to the right here, you'll see that there's a flat $1 fee for prep, as well as a 20 cents per pound shipping cost. You may not see a shipping cost added here if the product dimensions are not found. So if Amazon doesn't know what the product dimensions are, we wouldn't be able to calculate the shipping cost. So just keep that in mind. And this is actually a good time to mention that any profit or ROI that is being overstated will have these like little red question marks. Unlike what some users believe, that does not mean Scan Unlimited is broken. That just means that Amazon themselves does not know what it is. Like, they've never actually gotten that item and measured it. So if Amazon knows what the fees would be or what the product dimensions or the package dimensions would be, it will show up here because we quite literally get this information directly from Amazon. So just keep that in mind, that if you see that warning, that you just might have to kind of adjust for that. So now that we got 18 results, I may want to adjust my filter to not be so strict. Let's say, for example, let's say I don't look for estimated sales of 210, and I'll drop that down to maybe, like, let's say 150. 150 is still quite a bit of sales per month to share, especially. So brought in 20. So let's work with this 20 here. Yeah, no matter how thorough the data is and how detailed it is, I still always recommend users do their own due diligence. The key thing is that you didn't go through 3,000 items. Instead, you go through, in this case, 20 items and kind of figure out which one should you go for from there, not a huge list. So it is still a huge time saver to start with a scan and then kind of do your own due diligence, drilling into each one individually. So one thing I might do right off the bat here is I will apply the power up, which is a feature of Scan Unlimited that will bring in kind of these columns that aren't showing currently, which is the reviews, the ratings. We also bring in average sales rank data, as well as the Amazon, like when Amazon was last, or if Amazon has been in the buy box in a certain date range. So let's go ahead and trigger the power up on these 20 items. And you'll see a bunch of loading spinners, and it'll start working on these and trying to get that information. All right, so we got some reviews, ratings, we got some average ranks as well, and we also got Amazon information. So we can see when you hover over the Amazon logo when Amazon was last seen in the buy box. And so we'll kind of show a date and time for you to see that. And so I know that having an item that Amazon was on recently isn't necessarily something you want to avoid. I hear that pretty often with sellers. I can understand the perspective though, because Amazon typically doesn't share the buy box very much, even though you may be a lower price than Amazon. But it's not impossible to compete against Amazon. Maybe not like you won't be taking the whole buy box, but you will still be able to get some of the sales. So if an item is, let's say, selling very quickly, that might be something that you might be able to get a few sales. Also, another thing with Amazon is that Amazon doesn't really price and hog up the buy box the same way on every single ASIN. Some ASINs they'll just never share at all, and then some ASINs they'll have like they may not move their price very much, and they might give up the buy box pretty often. So I wouldn't necessarily dismiss an ASIN from you sourcing it just because Amazon was in the buy box recently. But another feature of the power up is the reviews and rating. And besides obviously kind of showing you whether people like the item or not, I also use the reviews and ratings to just provide an extra validation of demand, because an item that has a lot of reviews, typically, well, you have to have a lot of sales to get a lot of reviews, right? So that's one piece of data I get out of the reviews column. And another thing I get from it specifically the ratings column, is something that a lot of Amazon sellers, I think, forget about, is that, if you buy an item that is kind of known for being defective, or just in general having high return rates, that's going to affect your net profit at the end of the day. So you really need to consider, like, really think about it twice, maybe, or 3 times before you source an item that has like a really horrible rating, 1 to 2 stars, even 3 stars. I normally don't really like to source items that have 3 stars or less. If I do, then if I do go with it, I would want to see at least I would at least want to see a really good profit number and a good sales rank with estimated sales number. But in general, yeah, I would not suggest really looking for items that have less than 3 stars. In terms of the ranking, what's nice about the ranking is it kind of gives you some more validation on the demand of the item. So Amazon is saying that these like couple of items up here have a ranking of, actually pretty good rankings. However, there is an issue with it because I don't see any average ranks. So there's clearly something going on with these listings. One red flag is that there's no offers. Like, there's only Amazon on the listing. So you see that there's only one offer. So it's very likely that this is an Amazon exclusive listing. So it might be selling very well, but you're just not allowed to sell against it. I'll show you one way you can check for that using the product detail feature in a little bit. Now that we triggered the power up on the remaining items that survived our filters, it's kind of it's kind of like the step where we do a little bit more digging into each item to see if there's any items worth sourcing in here. So the one way you could go about it is using the product detail feature, which you can access by clicking this little launch icon on the left hand side, or you can actually hold the shift button and click a row, and that will actually open the product detail. So it's a little bit of a shortcut. And once this is loaded, you'll see that you get more information here than you did necessarily on the scan view. So starting from the top, you got I'm going to kind of focus on the things that aren't already in the scan. So for example, it will say the fulfillment method type that the buy box winner is. So in this case, it's a merchant fulfilled seller. And that is true. So the person that's winning the buy box is merchant fulfilled. So if you are, let's say, for example, an FBA seller, you might keep that in mind, because you might think, okay, well, if I join this listing and compete against these sellers and the current buy box winner is merchant fulfilled, I could very easily match the price of the seller and most likely win a good amount of buy box time, because your fulfillment method will be FBA, and typically Amazon will give like priority to FBA offers, just as an example. On the right side here, you have sales rank, but also the averages, which is all from the scan, as well as the estimated monthly sales. Up here, you also get the ability to check if a brand is known for filing IP complaints. This is actually a very unique feature to Scan Unlimited that we actually can bring in whether or not a brand files IP complaints. And this is all crowdsourced, so if you know for sure and you have proof that a brand has filed an IP complaint against your account or someone else's account, you can always click this little question mark and it will take you to a Google form where you can kind of just send us your proof, and we will manually just validate that proof, and then everybody can see that that brand is known for filing IP complaints. So I have a pretty large database at this point of a variety of brands that are known for filing IP complaints, and this helps just prevent, like, it just helps to prevent like sourcing an item where the supplier is actually pretty malicious with the IP complaints, where meaning like they sell you an item, but you know, they don't have any, they have the intention to actually file that IP complaint, even though they know that you bought it from them. So it's a really good feature to have. So in this case, Funko is not known for filing IP complaints, hence why there's no warning here. So if they were known for it, you would see a little warning symbol instead of a question mark. Besides that, there's what looks to be like kind of a sign-in button, and that is because I have the Chrome extension installed, the Scan Unlimited Chrome extension, which you can get access to by clicking the Get Extension link in the side nav. And the extension allows for two things. One, in the product detail feature, it can actually check if you're restricted from selling an item. You do have to be logged into your Seller Central account, which I am not at the moment. I went ahead and logged into my test seller account, which I've never sold anything through. So with the Scan Unlimited Chrome extension, it's able to actually check if I'm restricted from selling this item. And actually, in this case, I actually am restricted from selling this item. So I would need to first figure out how to get ungated. So you would be applying to sell. A lot of the times you can actually get approved automatically. If not, let's say if you have a really new seller account, you'll have to provide Amazon with an invoice that you purchased Funko products in the past. You know, one strategy, if you've never purchased items from a certain supplier in the past, is you can start with a smaller order, something tiny. I've never really had a problem getting a brand ungated, as long as they have the ability to actually apply, because there are some brands where you can't even apply. So as long as you can apply and you have the invoice, I've never had a problem with that. So just keep that in mind when sourcing items and trying to sell them. So below the core details, we have Keepa charts. We have the 30, 90, and 365-day Keepa charts. If you have a Keepa subscription, or even if you don't have a Keepa subscription, we will always show the sales rank line. And if you're not seeing the sales rank line, all you have to do is go into your settings, and in settings there's a Keepa subscription toggle. You would just turn that off to state that you don't have a Keepa subscription. This way it will pull in the sales rank lines for you. Okay. If you have any problems, don't hesitate to just start an intercom conversation with us, and we'll be happy to help you. So looking at the charts really helps you figure out whether an item is a good item to sell. We do see that Amazon is on the listing, however, not very often. So I changed the range to be 365 days. I see Amazon has been like kind of just jumped on the listing recently. But you know, right now, if I jump down to the offers component here, I see that a merchant fulfilled third-party seller has the buy box even though Amazon is on the listing. Most likely it's because Amazon hasn't really fully received their stock. So they're just kind of probably waiting on that to be received before they start to get kind of aggressive with the buyer box. But for now, this person right here is getting a lot of sales. Actually, in terms of estimated sales, 827. So if they're getting a good amount of that buy box time, they're getting at least a few hundred sales per month on this. So good for shop for toys. Other than that, we can also look at the sales rank variation here. So I see that during the beginning of the year, there was a little, like, the rank improved significantly. Remember, as the rank goes down, sales go up. So having the rank go down is actually a good thing. I see right before November, it was really popular. Might have been for the holidays. It's a toy item after all. Maybe also something specific to Rick and Morty, the brand. It's a possibility. I'm not sure. But you can start to kind of form patterns to say, oh, well, maybe there's some seasonality here. And maybe next November or October, I guess it was more of October, it will do well as well. Again, so you might want to kind of prepare for that. And also, since Amazon hasn't been on this listing a lot throughout the year, I would say that's also a really good indicator of an item that's worth sourcing. So definitely going to be kept on our favorites list here. And I'll show you how to do that in a bit. But we're just going to kind of finish up the product detail feature here. So so I mentioned the offers component. So you can see all of the offers. If you click on an offer, it will actually take you to the seller's storefront. And so you can kind of check out their name. They actually recently show the business address. So that's always fun. And you can kind of check from even within Scan Unlimited, you can even see just their rating and feedback, because you can kind of compare yourself to the other offers to see how you would fit in, to see if you would be competitive. As I mentioned, since this person is merchant fulfilled, getting in there with an FBA offer may prove to be very successful. So that's kind of how you would read the offers component. Scrolling down a little bit more, we have the variations component, which would show you if there's any other variations attached to this listing. In this case, there's only one ASIN, so there's no other variations to see, but the variations component can be really useful because you might see an item that, a different color of an item, that might be more profitable or have more demand than the item you're currently looking at. So I always recommend checking out the variations component quickly just to see if there's maybe a better option in terms of variation. Could be color, size, quantity, anything. And then in the bottom left, we have the profit ROI calculator. And what you can do here is it automatically pulls in the buy box price as the potential price that you would sell it for. But it also allows you to edit the product cost. You could put a discount in here. You could change the prep fee. The prep fee is coming from the scan, and this allows you essentially to do kind of a sensitivity analysis, where you can kind of say okay, well, with the current setup, with my current cost and current price, I would get $9 or so profit with a ROI of 129%. And you can start to say well, looking at this Keepa chart, maybe it drops down to, I don't know, let's say $20, right? And so I might change the product price over here to $20. And then I say, oh, well, net profit drops down to $4.86, and ROI drops to 64%. So I kind of lose 60% points of ROI based on a $5 drop on the price, whatever the buy box price would be. So that's kind of how you would use the product calculator. That's how I use it, at least. And you can kind of mess with discounts. What if my supplier gave me a 10% discount? You can say -10 here, and then say, oh, okay, well, that actually increased my ROI now by an additional 20 percentage points or so. And also, they have the ability to change the fulfillment method. So whether basically what this would do is that it would ignore the FBA fee by choosing merchant fulfilled. And that's basically how you kind of go through the product detail feature. So based on this, I'd say this is actually a really good contender as being an item that I would want to source for the reasons I've already explained about Amazon not really being so aggressive. Even though Amazon's there, they're not being aggressive, proven by the fact that a merchant fulfilled offer is winning the buy box. And there's plenty of profit here, far greater than I would normally get on a Funko item. So I would say this is definitely a winner. I just have to resolve the whole restricted aspect of it, but I know that wouldn't be too difficult. So I'm going to go back, and here it is. And so what I can do is I can actually favorite this item by clicking the little star. And favoriting just makes it easy to kind of keep track of the items that you think may be potential winners. You could favorite for various reasons. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just something you want to look back on later. And we have like a really neat little toggle here where you can say show favorites, and it will only bring in the items that you have favorited. So as you can see, there's only one item here, so you can kind of get rid of that excess noise by doing this. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off so that I can go back into sourcing some other items. So I think this would be a good time to also show the Chrome extension at work on the product detail page itself on Amazon. So we do know that there's no IP complaints that are known to be filed on Funko. Actually, in the scan view here, you can actually see that there's the question mark. There's no warning symbol. You would also see this on the product detail page right next to the brand name. So it's showing up right here. So it actually injects it into the Amazon detail page, which is really convenient, very useful to get that feedback right there when you're looking at it on Amazon. Just to kind of show you what it would look like if you were looking at a restricted brand. I know that Adobe software is, or Adobe is one brand where you might have IP complaints. So let me see if I can, I don't know, I feel like this is an electronic download. Yeah, this should work here. So yeah, you'll see right here, there's a little warning symbol. And if you hover over it, it says IP complaint detected. So yeah, you would probably want to stay clear away from sourcing any items where you get this warning symbol. So definitely worth downloading and installing the Scan Unlimited extension. It's actually free for all Scan Unlimited users, regardless if you're on the free plan or the unlimited plan. You can use it. You just have to be signed into your Scan Unlimited account. We're going to continue working our way down the list, see what other items we can find to source. So right under the Rick and Morty Funko, actually, there's a Naruto Funko item, and it's got a good sales rank with very strong averages as well, and a pretty good estimated sales as well. Amazon is known to be in the buy box as of June 19th, so actually it's been a few days since they've been in the buy box, so that's a good sign. And something actually I haven't shown yet is that on the left hand side, not only can you get a preview of the item, like in terms of an image, but if you hover over the little chart icon, you actually get a little bit of a preview of the Keep a chart. So that's a little pro tip right there. So let's go ahead and deep dive into this and open up the product detail feature and see if we can get some more insight into whether or not we should be sourcing this item. So looking at it, I'd say that we're looking pretty good. Amazon isn't always on the listing, so that's already a huge plus right there. Of course, I am restricted. I still have to take care of that, but I know that I can get unrestricted on this brand. Um, in terms of buy box, even though Amazon is they're an offer, they're not in the buy box position. So yeah, so I'd say we're in good shape. Yeah, they're all the way down here at $40. Yeah, they're priced really high. So we see that there's an FBA offer, actually 3 FBA offers at $23.99. So at $23.99, if I'm selling FBA, even with a $1 prep fee, I'm still making $5.91 with an ROI of 78.8%. Still really good. Since I mentioned the 3 FBA sellers, a question that I get a lot is like how many items or what quantity you should buy when sourcing, especially initially. So I always say, like, if you're reordering something based on a scan that you've run, so meaning like, okay, let's say you've bought from Funko in the past and you're just kind of rescanning to kind of get because you got a new list or something like that. If you sold the item in the past, I would always suggest kind of looking at the scan, but also comparing that to your sales history and then kind of going from there, because the estimated sales is estimated at the end of the day, and everybody's seller account is kind of looked at in the eyes of Amazon a little differently. So the estimated sales is kind of just a generic number for total sales for the whole listing, not necessarily for you individually as a seller. So you would want to look at your sales history there. If this is your first time selling, like sourcing the item at like ever, so then I would suggest looking at the number of competitors for the buy box, which I would say would be like, around a single digit percentage from the buy box winner's price. The reason I say that is because price is definitely by far the most important metric that Amazon is looking for when determining who should win the buy box. So in this case, I'd say that there are 3 competitors, especially because they're the same fulfillment method. So you would kind of be entering into this this listing as like kind of the 4th competitor. And so you could kind of, one way to kind of interpret this would be, okay, there's 514 sales per month. I would be the 4th competitor. So let me divide the estimated sales by 4, and that would be kind of my expected sales per month. And how many months worth of inventory you source, I mean, again, that's really up to you. I will say that with Amazon's IPI score or Inventory Performance Index score, they kind of like to see no more than like 30 days worth of inventory sitting at their warehouse. So I don't know if I would really source more than a month, especially when you first start. And that's definitely something I think is a really good habit in general. You want to source like maybe a little bit less initially, just to kind of see if it would be like just kind of testing it out, because you never know, like things can change or your estimate might not be 100% accurate. So then you kind of validate it first, and then when you go to reorder, you can be more aggressive. So just a little tip, not so much related to Scan Unlimited, but just selling in general. Let's go ahead back to the scan, and I'm going to click the favorite star because I'm liking that one as well. Now, I'm not going to go through every single item, but I think you kind of get the idea of how you would go through a scan and how you filter a scan. We talked about all those things. One thing I will kind of point out, because it's another feature of Scan Unlimited, is that we have the product folders feature. And the key differentiator between the favoriting feature and the product folders feature is that favoriting is very much restricted to your scan. Like there's none of the other scans that you've processed has any effect on the favoriting here in this scan. So that's like one constraint of the favoriting. Now, let's say you want to make a list, and that list is maybe a list of all of the, let's say, Halloween items that you want to source for your business. And that's going to come from a variety of suppliers, from a variety of product lists. In this case, product folders would be a great feature for you to take advantage of. So let's say I want to add the 2 favorited items that I have here to a product folder. So all I do is I check the checkboxes, I go up here to the drop down, and I say add to folder, and I can create a folder, and maybe I really do create a folder called Halloween, right? So I can create a folder on the fly, and it's going to add those items to the folder. So if I jump over to the product folders feature and I open up Halloween, here they are. And you can even write in some notes. So if you want to take any notes specifically about an item, like really cool item, right? You have the ability to add memos here. All your custom columns will also appear inside of the memo. And yeah, now you're able to add items from other scans, from other marketplaces, all into the same product folder. So that's a really cool feature if you have a use for that. I typically like to use it for when I want to create purchase orders. So I add it to here because maybe from one supplier I might get multiple lists, because maybe one is from a certain department from that company, and then there's another one from a different department. Some brands even have like kind of brands under them that they own, but you're still going through one major system, so they're going to maybe want to only see one purchase order. So this would be a really good example of also another use case for using product folders to organize your purchase order. So from here, I would create a purchase order, and you can that's another place where I use memos. I might say like kind of the quantity. Actually, I think we did the quantity calculation on the Naruto Funko item here. I might say quantity, and then I would say 100 because I already did that calculation. I was the 4th competitor, and I divided the estimated sales by 4, and it was about 100. So I might save that. And so when I create a purchase order, whether you do that within software that, like for inventory management, or you even use an Excel spreadsheet, I'll even leave a link to a free template for Excel, where you can, I think actually I have a Google Sheet one, so I'll put a link for that one. But basically, suppliers are not going to really care so much about what your purchase order looks like. You just need to send them something, and you could copy the UPC information as well as the item number information into your purchase order. Also, I did bring in the case quantity for a reason, to keep things in increments of each case. So in this case, since there's a case of 12, I might drop down my order to 96 just to make it nice and clean, because I don't like to have boxes that, I like to have everything in case pack. Otherwise, you end up with a box with a variety of different items. So that's always a good practice to follow. So I think that pretty much completes our walkthrough of the latest version of Scan Unlimited. Jumped over here to the pricing page just to kind of show that, we have a free plan as well as the unlimited plan. And whenever you're ready to kind of take your sourcing to the next level and you need to have unlimited access to upload as many product lists as you can get from your suppliers, definitely the unlimited plan would be the way to do it. We do offer a 20% discount if you sign up for an annual plan. And so that can be a way to kind of reduce the subscription cost. And that's reserved for people that are really committed to sourcing and building their Amazon businesses. So other than that, thanks so much for sticking with me through this whole walkthrough. I hope that you're able to find product lists and upload them into Scan Unlimited and find some amazing items, and so that you can grow your business. Until next time, thanks. Take care. Bye.